Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to talk about dividing powers with the same base. So let's get started. All right. Again, what we're always looking for, what is a common theme in every lesson on every assignment, and that is always going to be what's holding true, is we're looking for numbers that have the same base. They cannot be different bases. Here you're always going to see them. Well, maybe. We might throw a curveball or two at you just to check if you're looking at the bases and verifying that they're the same. In this case, we're not. In the examples you see on these videos, the bases are always the same. Please do not take it for granted that these bases are always the same and let your brain think this always works no matter what. Pay attention to those details. What is always the same matters, because that means it must always be the same in order for it to work. Not that it's always going to work. You have to find when it's going to work. So hopefully I've drilled that point in by now. So again, we're going to be working with dividing powers, basically fractions. If we have a fraction, we have the division sign, whatever we've got, what we're going to be doing is what we're talking about today. Now, I tend to think about it a couple of different ways. So we'll look at it one way. This is the same thing as 2 to the 6th divided by 2 to the 4th. And what that means is we're going to be doing subtraction. The best way to think about this is, remember, when you multiply bases that like bases or identical bases, you add the powers. The opposite of multiplying is dividing, and the opposite of adding is subtracting. So if we're doing the opposite operation to the bases, we have to do the opposite operation to the exponents. So that means this is 2, our base, and 6 minus 4. And so that's going to be equal to 2 to the 6th, 2 to the power of 6 minus 4, which is 2 squared. All right, now I don't plan currently to do this for all three, but let me show you what is happening. This is the 2 to the 6th over 2 to the 4th is the same thing as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 1, 2, 3, 4 times 2 times 2 divided by 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So 2 to the 4th, or 4 2's being multiplied, and 2 to the 6th are 6 2's being multiplied. And if we remember, when we have like factors in numerator and denominator, they're going to cancel. So those 2's cancel, those 2's cancel, those 2's cancel, and those 2's cancel. And what we're left with is 2 times 2. Now we could solve that, or if we want to, we could rewrite that as just saying, here's our base and how many times it's being multiplied. Or 2 times 2, or 2 squared. And that is going to be equal to 4. Now here, I want to reiterate that this is simplified, this is answered. So depending on what the directions tell you to do will depend on, do you stop here or do you move on to 4? So again, this is a simplified answer. And this is what I refer to as a final answer. What I mean by final is there are no more operations we can actually do. We can't add, we can't subtract, it's just 4. There's nothing left to do, it's final. This is also considered an answer. It's just a simplified final because we can take 2 to the power of 2, or 2 squared. So it's not a final one, but it is a simplified one. Now, let's kind of get back on track here. When dividing powers do not divide the bases. In other words, if you noticed, I found the bases were the same and I still wrote it down. So remember, this has been key all throughout now. Is not only do you have to make sure the bases are the same, you copy the bases. The only thing you're doing is adding or subtracting and eventually multiplying or dividing. We're not there yet. The exponents are what gets added, subtracted, multiply, or divide. You never do anything to the bases, you just write them down. So what that tells me is these are like bases of -7, and I got to put it in parentheses so I know that everything's happening to -7, not just 7, and getting a negative answer. And that's going to be 9 minus 3, because I'm dividing. That means I'm doing the opposite of multiplying, so I'm going to do the opposite of adding. And so I get -7 to the 6th. And this would be my simplified answer. Now, whether there is a number or a variable, we treat it exactly the same. Are the bases the same? And here we get to say yes again. So we copy down the base of h, and we take 7 minus 6. And that's going to be h to the 1st. And if you remember, our invisible math rules actually tell us that we don't write powers of 1, so we're just going to write h as our answer. Now pause the video and copy what is on your screen into your notebook. Now that you're back, anytime you have to rewatch the video for clarity or to remember something, you need to write what you picked up into your notes. Use arrows, circles, shapes, pictures, whatever else you need to, but add it to your notes to make them yours. Last, ladies and gentlemen, you are in school. When you're learning, it's about understanding the process, not about finding an answer. We'll see you tomorrow.